Hi, and welcome back to the Lily Moon Paint channel. I'm Kimberly Cook from Born in a Barn Boutique. Today I'm here to talk to you about how to apply the Lily Moon paint. We're going to go over all things with the mineral paint and the opulent paint. So let's go on over to my workbench and get started. Now we're over at my workbench and we're going to go ahead and get into the application process. But before we do so, let me just showcase the two paints we're going to be using today. The first one is the mineral paint. This is the OG, the original. Then after that, they came out with this, which is their all-in-one. So you have choices in the paint line. Mineral paint, all-in-one paint. We're going to feature applying them both today, and each one of these has their own video, so you'll be able to go and get more information about the application and what we're going to use. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's the Zebra Palm Pro. This is going to give you a beautiful brush stroke free finish. So let's go ahead and get these paints on. So let's talk in detail a little bit about each of these paints. We'll start with the mineral paint. The mineral paint is a water-based mineral paint, dries down matte, but has a super buttery smooth finish. It's very durable on its own. Although you can top coat it, it's not necessary. It's a no VOC formula, has great adhesion, and awesome coverage. The recoat time for the mineral paint is 1 hour. And then there's the opulent. This is the all-in-one paint. It has a primer, paint, and top coat all in one. And the coolest thing is it's a stain blocking primer. So this is a water-based formula also. It has low VOCs, awesome adhesion, great coverage, and that stain blocking primer in it. The dry time for this is 1 hour and the recoat time is 2 hours. Okay, so we have our nice, clean, and prepped cabinet door and we're ready to go. Now we do have a prep video on the channel to answer some of those questions, but I used this today. This is the Lily Moon Furniture Prep. It's a concentrate that you mix with water and it's residue and rinse free. It's amazing. So I've already prepped my cabinet door here and I've got my zebra brush all ready to go. I like to start with a damp brush. It just really helps to get a nice start and have the paint glide very smoothly. We're going to use Heavenly today. It's one of my favorite colors. As you can tell, I've used it quite a bit. The paint consistency of the mineral paint is pretty thin, so it's a nice consistency, although it provides excellent coverage. You're not going to load up your brush too heavily. You don't want to go all the way down to the base of the brush. About 1/3 to halfway is good. So let's go ahead and get some paint on here. When you're applying on your surface, one thing to remember is the first coat is never going to be the most beautiful coat. Don't worry about it. You don't want to layer up too much paint at one time. This will cause you to have a longer dry time and there can be brush strokes left in your finish if you're putting on too much product. So the key when you're applying the product is nice, light, even strokes from one end of the piece to the other. Not worrying if you're not covering the entire piece. The other thing to keep in mind is to know when to walk away. Don't overwork your brush too much. That's what can cause brush strokes. All right, so we have our first coat on. It is all dry. It's been 1 hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and start in with my second coat. But just so you can see the coverage with one coat, it's amazing. Now here's the thing that I've learned with the Lily Moon mineral paint. It dries pretty darn buttery smooth. So I don't feel the need to sand in between coats, but if you want to, you can, and I would recommend using one of the rad pads. This is the super fine, and that's what I would recommend if you feel like you need to sand out maybe a little brush stroke or something got into your paint, or it just feels like you want it a little smoother. Take your rad pad, rub it along, good to go. Let's go ahead and get our second coat on. Basically, it's the same thing as the first coat. This time you might find that you feel it's a little different because now you've got your paint that it's grabbing onto. So you may feel like there's a little bit more of a drag, if you will. Don't worry, that's normal. Just go in with your paint, and again, starting with one end to the other. Try not to stop and start in the middle here. You want to take your brush and go as far as you can from one end of your project to another. And again, realizing when it's time to stop. You've got great coverage. You don't need to keep working it. Now it's time to let it dry. While we wait for that to dry, I'm obviously going to go clean my brush so we can go in with our opulent. And I have to do a little brag for just a minute. I have the perfect product for that. This is amazing. It is their conditioning brush soap, and it's yet another product I can't live without. It takes literally a few drops of this. It's 100% organic and it's amazing. It cleans and conditions your brush. And I have a little confession to make. I have left brushes with paint dried before, used this, and it brought them back to life. So I'm gonna go clean my brush and we'll come back with the Opulent. Okay, so here we are. This is 2 coats dried down. I'll show you up close so you can see. That is amazing coverage for a light color. Again, this is heavenly in the mineral paint. Let's go ahead and get the Opulent paint on now. Okay, so we're ready now to do the Opulent. I've washed with the conditioning brush soap and it's all ready to go. Now the application process is essentially the same. I'll show you the consistency. It is a little bit thicker than the mineral paint. And I did kind of load up my brush pretty heavy there, but that's okay. So the application process is pretty much the same. You're gonna start at one end of your piece and you're going to go all the way to the other end. Now you notice I ran out of paint pretty much, but that's okay. I still keep going because when you're applying this, you don't want to stop here. You're gonna get these stop and start marks in your finish. You do not want that. So you want to start at one end and go completely to the other end and repeat the process. The Opulent paint, I find, is really easy to apply, and I think that's because the formulation of this with the top coat in it, it feels almost a little bit slicker, a little more slippery, if you will. So the application for this particular formula is really, honestly, so easy. So we're gonna go ahead and let that sit and dry up. Now you see there's not great coverage right there. That's okay, because we'll come back and get that with our second coat and you're gonna see, just like the mineral paint, this is gonna be 2 coats and done. Okay, so that's all dried down first coat. And I apologize, I forgot to mention the color we're using here in the Opulent line is Mystical Woods. It's a new color. And again, one of my favorites. Actually, this has become one of my #1 sellers. Every time I've painted a piece in Mystical Woods, it sells the next day. Okay, so this is our first coat, all done. As you can see, I have a little dry spot here, but that's quite all right. I'm gonna pick that up on my second coat. Same rule applies. It honestly doesn't need, it is so smooth, it does not need to be sanded in between coats, but if you would like, you can grab your rad pad and sand in between coats. I'm not even gonna do that because I don't need to, it's so smooth. So we're just gonna go back in and the same process applies. You wanna go ahead and apply it the exact same way and realize we're gonna pick all that up on our second coat. Now in my experience, even with these darker colors, my experience, light or dark, has been 2 coats and done. So you can't get much better than that. The coverage, like I said, on these is absolutely amazing. I am loading up a little bit more paint for that little dry area there. And as you can see, again, I'm not stopping and starting anywhere in my middle because that's what's gonna happen and we don't want that. So we're just gonna go from one end back to the other, just like that. So we'll go ahead and let this one dry down and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right, here we are. That is the Opulent in Mystical Woods. Is that not beautiful? Oh my gosh, no wonder I love that color. Just look at that. And the coverage, 2 coats, and we are all done. The thing I did not mention that I want to highlight is the Opulent is an extremely wipeable formula. Being that it's a primer, paint, and top coat in one, super durable, very wipeable. So if you get this fingerprints or dirty, all you have to do is wipe it with a cloth and you're good to go. Thank you so much for joining me today for this video. I hope it was helpful for you. If you're new to the Lilly Moon paint line, we like to produce videos to be able to walk you through the process and help answer any questions you might have. Well, until next time, I'll catch you on the next video.